Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Today, we will dive into another most powerful feature of your AWS, which is your S3 replication. Whether you're looking to replicate data across regions for disaster recovery, or to meet your regulatory requirements, or to improve the latency for your global users, AWS S3 replication is a must know feature for every cloud professionals. Stick around as I break down the types of replication, how it works, and the step by step implementation with a real world example. By the end of this video, you will be confident in setting up S3 replication for your business needs. Once again, before I start off with the session, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button. So let's get started with this. We'll first look at the basics. So we look at what is your S3 replication. So your S3 replication is simply a feature that enables us to replicate the objects from one S3 bucket to another S3 bucket. So, if you want to automatically copy the objects from one bucket to another bucket, we can make use of your S3 replications for that. Um, Now, these S3 buckets, they can be within the same region. They can also be in two different regions. So, like let's say when I upload a data to one bucket, it should automatically get copied over to other S3 bucket. Then we can make use of your S3 replications for that. Now, when we talk about your S3 replication, it provides us with two types of replication. We have the cross-region replication and we have the same-region replication. Now, the cross-region replication can be used when you want to replicate the data between buckets which are there in different AWS regions. Like you have one bucket in Mumbai region and you have another bucket in North Virginia region. Then you can go with the cross-region replication. And the use case for this would be if you want to set up disaster recovery or you have any compliance requirements, then you can go with the cross-region replication. And then you have the same region replication, and you can use this to replicate your objects within between your S3 buckets which are there in the same AWS regions. Like both the buckets are there in the Mumbai region. And the use case for this would be if you want to aggregate logs, or you want to you want to separate your production and development environments, then you can go with your same region replication. Now, a very important point to note that is your replication process is asynchronous. So, basically, depending on the size of the object, the replication can take time to get copied over to your destination bucket. So, it's asynchronous. And your replication process, it applies only to new objects. All right. So, once you create the rule, the replication rule, and any new objects that you will upload, the replication applies only to those objects. So if you have any pre-existing objects, they won't be replicated automatically. So either you will need to manually copy them over to the destination bucket, or you will need to explicitly specify to replicate these existing objects. Now, let's talk about some of the features of your S3 replication. So some of the key features of your S3 replication includes customizable replication rules. So you can configure which objects you want to replicate based on prefix and tags. Then you have encryption support. So you can replicate encrypted objects even when the source and destination buckets are using different encryption keys. The next feature we have is replication metrics and notifications. So you can monitor the replication process with CloudWatch metrics, and you can also receive alerts. And the last feature we have is replication time control. So you can use this feature which guarantees that the replication of 99.99% of your objects will happen within 15 minutes, which can be ideal for your compliance use cases. So your S3 replication also preserves metadata, object versioning, and even tags during your replication process. Now, what would be the real world use case for this? So you can use it for your disaster recovery. So you can automatically replicate your critical data to other AWS regions, which can ensure high availability during any outages. Then you can use it for compliance. So if you have any legal or regulatory requirements, you can store your copy of your data in these specific locations. Then you can use it for global performance optimization. So you can replicate your data which is closer to your users in different geographical regions, and this can help you reduce the latency to your users. And the last one we have is a log aggregation. So you can aggregate logs from multiple buckets into a central bucket, which you can use for any analytics or for your troubleshooting. So that's about the features we have for your S3 replication. Now, let's see an example for this. Now, what we will do is we will set up a cross-region replication for an S3 bucket. We will replicate the data from the source bucket. In the example, let's say these are the two buckets we are going to use. So we have one bucket which is in the North Virginia region. We have another bucket which is there in the Mumbai region. So basically, this will be my cross-region replication. So you can choose which is going to be your source bucket. So let's say in my case, this will be the source bucket. We will go to management, and here you have your replication rules. So we will begin with create replication rules. And very important point for this is you can see here replication requires versioning. So you will need to enable versioning on your source bucket as well as your destination bucket for your replication to work. So let me quickly check in my other bucket if versioning is enabled. So I can see versioning is enabled. So likewise, we will have to enable versioning on the source bucket as well. So we'll go to properties and let's edit this, and we will enable our versioning. So you will need to enable versioning for your replication rules to work. So now we'll go to create replication rule, and we begin with filling in the details. So we will get a name, we'll enable it. So your source bucket. So my source bucket will be the bucket that I'm using here. Then the region. Now, do you want this rule to be applied to all the objects or specific objects? So this is one of the feature where you can create the replication rules based on tags and filter it. That's up to you. So we will apply this to all the objects, and then your destination bucket. So to which bucket you want to copy this. Now you can copy this objects to a bucket which is there in your account. You can also copy it to other AWS account if you want. So you just need to give the account ID and the bucket name, and you can start copying the objects from your account to other AWS account. So in our case, we'll go with the same account, and you will need to specify your destination bucket. So in my case, this is gonna be my destination bucket. So we will choose that. And then this will need to have a role. So because the replication AWS is doing something on your behalf, so you will need to give the necessary permissions. So we will go ahead and we'll go with this create new role. So this will create a new IAM role with the necessary permissions. Then encryption. So like I said, by default, if you have your objects encrypted, those objects will not get replicated. Now if you want to replicate your encrypted objects as well, then you will need to explicitly specify that, and you will need to give the KMS key that you have used for the replication. So in our case, we don't need that. And then your destination storage class. So by default, if you have whatever the storage class you have in your source bucket, the same storage class will be used in the destination bucket. But then if you want to change it, maybe for your cost optimization or for compliance, you can change it. You can specify which storage class you want to use. We will leave it to the default one. And then some additional settings. So this is your replication time control, which allows, which basically replicates 99.99% of your objects within 15 minutes. That's your metric. So if you want to push your replication metrics to CloudWatch, you can do that. Then delete marker replication modification, sync. So there are a few options. And then we will click on save, and that will create the replication rule for us. And here, so this is what I was telling you. By default, if there are any existing objects, those objects will not get replicated. So either you will need to manually copy those objects, the existing objects, or when you're creating this rule, you have the option of specifying that you want to replicate the existing object. So that's totally up to you. In our case, we're going to ignore that and we will submit this. And this will create our replication rule. Now, let's see an example for this. Now, before I show you an example, let's go to the destination bucket and see what all objects we have in that destination bucket. So, looking at the destination bucket, so this is all I have. And let's go to the source bucket and let's say we'll upload something. So, go to the bucket. Let's upload. Maybe we'll upload a dummy file. So here I have this index.html file and we will upload that. Now, because of the replication rule that we have created, the same object will get replicated to the destination bucket automatically. So let's go and check and let's refresh this. So like I said, your replication is asynchronous. So it may take some time for the object to be replicated to your destination bucket. And now you can see here, there is my new object. So that's basically your S3 replication, which can be used to automatically replicate your objects from one S3 bucket to another S3 bucket. And that's it. We have successfully set up our S3 cross-region replication. Now, let's talk about some of the advantages of this S3 replication. So, it gives you improved durability and availability. So, it basically maintains redundant copies of data, which ensures that the business continues without any issues. The next advantage we have is enhanced security. So, it provides encryption support and IAM roles that add an extra layer of protection. And the last advantage we have is flexibility. So it supports granular replication, which can be based on tags or prefixed. Now, though there are many advantages, there are also few disadvantages that you'll need to keep in mind. The first disadvantage we have is the cost. So setting up replication will incur additional cost and your transfer cost as well. Then replication lag. So the replication process itself is asynchronous, and so there will be a slight delay in data consistency when it comes to your S3 buckets. And the last one we have is your pre-existing data. So setting up replication does not automatically copy your existing data. So you will need to either manually copy the pre-existing objects or explicitly specify them when you're creating the replication rule. Only then the replication will copy your pre-existing data. That's all I have for this session. To sum it up, AWS S3 Replication is an incredibly powerful tool for managing your data across regions or within the same AWS region. Whether you want to ensure compliance or you want to improve the latency or prepare for disaster recovery, then this is an essential feature for any AWS architect or developer. If you found this video helpful, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel for more AWS content. And don't forget to hit that bell icon to never miss an update. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.